two, three. 1, 2, 3. Let's go.
Welcome to Teaching Crypto. This is AZcrypto and MrFOMO, and we did tape last night, but crazy things have happened, and no, we have not gone anywhere. We're not hiding. We taped an episode, and things have been crazy. And I want to say, I said this last night, but we did not get to show up because of how quickly things change. If you've been into Luna like we have, it's been a rough 3 days, and it just gets rougher and rougher. There's no way around it. It's a horrible nightmare where the system was attacked. Unfortunately, they just were not prepared. And we have a situation now where 2 new Luna have been printed. It's been taken, not off completely, but it's been halted. They've halted the blockchain. The future is in grave doubt. It looks bad all the way around. It's bad for the crypto space. BTC has briefly recovered, but no one has any confidence that this recovery is going to keep lasting in the short term, to be honest with you guys. The fact we saw 25K BTC is crazy. We could easily see it again the next couple months, if not the next few weeks. Don't mean to be pessimistic, but I think it's very important that we're honest with our viewers. Luna's a huge slap in the face. It's not the end of the world. You got to pick yourself up and recover. But Mr. FOMO, we couldn't even put the episode up last night that we spent a lot of time on because of how crazy the last 48 hours.
The numbers dropped so fast that what we were saying in the video by the time we were done editing was obsolete.
Mm-hmm.
That's how much of a market killer this actually was. And this was a market killer. All the other markets were doing poorly, but this took everyone's confidence out of crypto. I mean, everyone was absolutely certain that this was the bell cow. This was the running back you hand your ball to, and you win a championship. This was it. And for this thing to go from 123 to now not you can't even trade it. Right now, you can't get it on Voyager. You can't get it on Binance. You can't get it anywhere. You're basically holding a giant bag of hope. Is what?
Well, it's at 2 million market cap, but things are halted. It's available on non-exchanges, but there's so much supply. I'm not an expert on tokenomics. I study it hard. I don't know at this point what could be done. They could start from scratch and do a swap, but that takes time to set up, and you got to get the you got to get the exchanges to play ball. That's to me right now the best case is we're gonna do a token swap, and we're gonna start a new version of Luna, but you have so many millions of tokens now being held by whales. I've been reading online that even the swap would be difficult. The one thing you could do would be to make a new version that's separate from UST, and you could still have some burning that would be aggressive. So it's not impossible, but
there are a lot of people online calling for a fork, and they want to fork the blockchain. And there's a lot of people online are just saying it's dead. It's a dead project. It'll never come back. But the Terraform Labs, when announcing their second halt today to the blockchain, they halted it one time earlier and restarted it. This is the second halt to the blockchain. It happened maybe 30 minutes ago. They said that they gave no indication that they were halting their work, that they were stopping what they were doing. Everything that they have said is that they are continuing on, and they will update us when they have a full plan.
you just never know. I mean, if you're on exchange right now, you can't sell it anyways. So yeah, Binance and Voyager. But I mean, at this point, do some research about tax write-offs and see if you can apply it to future years, separate. Because I just don't know in this market how much money is going to be made. But we'll see what decisions are made. I mean, I'm sure they want to keep it going. Is it feasible after the mistakes they've made? I mean, to me, my question is,
I,
why was there no red button? The term you used Sunday night. Why was there no red button when you saw this coming? Or right when the BTC? Why not halt the blockchain then and say, guys, we can't continue. Something is really dangerous, um, and I think it was, let's call it what it was. Uh, they got their pants were completely caught, and
arrogance.
and
Is it? I mean, you're talking about a guy that had 30 million sitting in trusts on bets that he just lost. You're talking about a guy on Twitter that was destroying people that were saying that this exact attack could happen. I mean, saying all kinds of nasty things to them and about them. And now, I mean, Sunday night he saw this coming and he sold off all his Bitcoin in order to shore up, UST, and then it all broke loose Monday and Tuesday and through the rest of the week. But we should explain kind of what happened. The basically two companies, BlackRock and Citadel, are rumored to have taken out a loan or made some kind of deal with Gemini where they were given 100,000 Bitcoin. And long story short, they played a game with that Bitcoin in order to drop the price of UST, drop the price of Bitcoin, and then they called up Do Kwon and Terra Labs, and they offered a deal that also helped to tank the market a little bit more and tank UST completely and completely depeg it. And then that's when everything started to fall apart. They tried their best to get their peg back. They even went so far as to mint, what was it, trillions of Luna to try and offset what was happening, but the attack was pretty successful.
but you can't. I mean, there's one problem, and then you create an even bigger problem.
Well, it all came out of really the arrogance of Do Kwon and Terraform Labs. I mean, I still think the man is a genius. I think there's a building full of geniuses in Terraform Labs. But this was arrogance. This was that. I mean, for all of us now, we've all been humbled in the crypto market because we've watched something that we did our research on it. Time and time again, we looked into this project and there were no real red flags, and it was only those people who were able to really truly understand the algorithm and how it worked and how much money it would take to actually affect the peg or to depeg UST. Those were the people who were jumping up and down.
Well, I mean, maybe what we really missed was the lack of set supply. And it seems like the billions of dollars that were locked in at 51 were not really locked in. So we
And that's
seems like there
another,
was some misinformation, to be honest with you.
and that seems to be the case too, is you have to now look at Terraform Labs and you have to look at the information coming out of there and you have to weigh it against the things that were said before. And those are all ugly things. I mean,
It just doesn't seem like a lot of Luna was really locked at all by any means.
no. And I mean, it feels when you really start to look around, like some of this information was really, like you said, misinformation. To say that people had billions locked in.
And we've talked about this before, though, with Cardano, and I'm not saying Cardano has the same issues, but a lot of projects say that certain amount are locked. But
yeah, TVL seems to be something that is in question now. People talk about TVL and they talk about it a lot with Cardano and some other blockchains. and it's fine. But when you're including money that is just on exchanges like Voyager or Gemini, that are technically staked, but are actually able just to be yanked off at any minute, it's not that you're not really talking about something that's locked. When you're talking about total value locked, you should be including only coins and tokens that are locked away and cannot be moved. And so I think that's another deceptive point in crypto, is that all these projects talk about their TVL, but TVL seems to be smoke and mirrors.
And I think moving forward, we've talked about this with things like Elrond. When you have a max supply and a max circulation, nothing's ever impossible, because there's no commissioner in crypto and people could lie. But if they're telling us the truth, you feel good about those projects. And that's why people feel good about Bitcoin. They're mathematically, we have the halvings every 4 years. We have a set supply. We know when it's going to get created. So
right. I mean, right now, what happened with what's rumored to have happened with Gemini and BlackRock and Citadel, if that happened in the stock market, you would see people in cuffs right now. You would see people, the FBI and all these people will be crawling all through these buildings to find out who did what and who knew what and who.
Well,
was
I wouldn't
but
be
here
shocked
in crypto, in crypto, it's a legal hack. If it really happened,
I wouldn't be shocked if this is used now to push the narrative that all stable coins are bad. And it's unfortunate because USDC is very stable. And in fact, they're audited all the time, very secure, high demand. So,
but I mean, you already saw it as soon as this started to go down with with Luna. Janet Yellen came out with a statement, and this was before it had even dropped to where it is now. It was still $23, $33 when she was saying these things. She was saying that this is a perfect example when UST lost its peg and how much money Luna lost. This is a perfect example of why we need regulation in stable coins. But to be quite honest with you, the algorithm, the algorithmic stablecoin worked. It did what it was supposed to do. It's just that it was under attack. I mean, if let's say for some reason the rest of the world was angry at the US and started firing sanctions at us the way that the world is doing to the Russians right now, the US dollar would take a really hard hit, just like the Russian ruble is taking. And so any currency, whether digital or fiat, is going to suffer when it's attacked. But the problem wasn't with the algorithmic stable coin. The problem was with the bad actors in the space, the lack of the ability to regulate those bad actors, and then the arrogance of Terraform Labs and Do Kwon.
Well, there's nothing left to do but move on. If you have your tokens, hold on, see what happens. It's not looking good, but to be determined. I do want to give our viewers some positive things to think about. We talked about this last night. We didn't get the show. We talked about, likely we are in a bear now, probably till 2024. Maybe we hit rock bottom at 25, but it's really hard to say that we know that for true. And so the realistically, the alts are not going to make a great run for a while, which means you have time to layer in, and that's responsibly layer in. I would never put all money, and this is one of the things we talked about is be careful putting a ton of money in all at once, especially in times like this with the uncertainty. But now it's time to find the new Luna or other projects. I talked about Audius last night as something that was greatly undervalued, and it'll continue to be greatly undervalued. And this is a token we'll do a more in-depth look at. But Avalanche is backed by some very smart people and some very rich people, and it does not have the dangerous stable coin connection.
We've talked about,
and that's one. I just want to say that's one We talked about that Voyager was eventually going to run everything on Avalanche. Avalanche, I think, is something that has immense potential, and right now is trading in the low 30s. Last summer, it went all the way down to 10 and went all the way up to 140. That's one that I would start thinking about if you're not into layering, not financial advice, obviously, to layering into. Yeah, it could get the way BTC is struggling. I mean, it's got up to 30K now, but let's be honest, there's no really sign that 40K is coming anytime soon, and the alts continue to take a hit. I could see Avalanche, you know, I hate to say it, but 10 is not completely off the table if we have another year and a half of crypto. But even even at like I said, I would buying now would layer in slowly, but even if it just goes down to 20, there's still immense potential for this project.
Yeah.
Also, here's something positive: the money that was in Luna, yeah, people lost it, but those people want to come back and find something else to believe in. And so projects like Avalanche and Elron, one we've talked about, um, I'm very high on those, and they don't have we thought the great tokenomics that Luna have. They don't necessarily have that, but they have really, really good supply, especially Elron in our case, limited supply. They have a lot of stuff, a lot of utility, and I think slowly over time, utility is going to become more and more important, especially if an exchange, someone like Voyager actually uses Avalanche to run the system and do the stuff on there that they plan to. It's going to be huge.
And
So
we even talked about that with Audius, is the utility of, it's not going to be just the entertainment NFTs, the music, the TV, the movies, that kind of stuff, the social tokens. But it'll be the utility that goes with them. Like the Kings of Leon just sold their album this past year as an NFT, or maybe the first 400 or 4,000 copies or so. But it came with utility. There were things that came with it, as well as front row seats that you could redeem that NFT for at any concert anywhere in the world. So the utility is going to be important, along with these, like, what are they doing? Not just what space are they in, but what does it provide for the people who purchase them? Or I think a lot of these tokens are going to have to give you more, especially now, to earn the trust back of these crypto investors.
yeah, and some of these tokens have low caps right now that are supposed to be mid caps. So again, we talked about this last night. The show didn't get aired. The next year and a half is when you have time to really build something. We'll do a show about what if you already have spent a lot of money. What now? Because a lot of people are in a situation where they don't have a ton of capital to layer into new projects. Their money is kind of trapped. So you have some choices. They're not great choices. But the number thing I would say is, do not panic sell at a huge loss unless you have a plan. If you have a plan to put in something else, that's one thing, but don't sell just out of frustration and anger, because that doesn't do you any good. Sit down, get a plan. We're going to have a show. I think that's a very important show, because a lot of people right now are way under, because a lot of us missed. Unfortunately, we weren't on in November, but the top was in November. We missed it. Ironic. Before we did the show, we always talked about getting out in the fall, but we didn't follow through. And
there are people that say we even missed the top. The top was back in April and May of last year, and that we have been in the bear since last summer.
Well, but I mean, Bitcoin did make a recovery, and a lot of
it did, but I mean, you could argue that it was actually just
okay. Yeah, so I can see what you're saying. Some of the alts from April, a few of them, not all, but a few of the good projects really did recover, but some never did see all-time highs again from April. So it was like a double top.
You never saw a true alt season. The only
time you did
alts
not
really ran was that April and May season.
But you made a good point on the show several times. We may never get a true alt season again, because there's so much money all over the place.
Spread out now. When you water the market down with 18,000 coins, I mean, and look what happened to the third best coin by market cap in this space. It's now I mean, we're all holding on to hope, basically. So, when I really hope that this is the lesson from this, that you really have to get into good projects, and I hope that this maybe stirs.
Yeah, a lot of these mem. I agree. A lot of these mem coins that just have unlimited supply that people are buying into. It's just
I
it's
hope
just
this
waste.
pushes people really to focus in on the good projects and not just these meme coins that are pump and dumps, and these weird projects that have all these weird names that are trying to build off of some other hype. I really hope that people see this space, that for the potential, but also for the danger now, and that they look at these projects and really do their research
Well,
before they get
and
in.
I think there's room. You have BTC and ETH, which are the big dogs. There's room for someone like a Avalanche to become an industry leader. I mean, people were very high on Solana, but let's be honest, they've had their issues too.
I'm to
So,
be honest with
uh,
you, there's a few that we've covered, Polkadot and Algorand. For me, if you bought Polkadot, you're still getting, excuse me, you're still getting a bigger cap, but you're also getting 12% if you're buying it on Voyager.
and you know why that is? Because it's still a valuable asset for them to loan.
And
So
so
that's a great sign.
and so
That's a
and then you've got Algorand, which I think you're getting 4% on. But we did a deep dive on them, and I like them a lot more than most other chains. And so there still are some projects there that can jump into that empty space that Luna has now left in the market. But yeah,
and things change. There was a one point where when I first got into crypto, people were saying that Chainlink was an industry leader. And now you search YouTube really long before you see a Chainlink video.
well,
So things change.
I was talking to people on Twitter, and somebody mentioned something about Chainlink, and I said, does that really have as much value as it used to now that these chains are building their own oracles? And there were people that were questioning me, like there weren't oracles that were actually being built on chains like Algorand, but Algorand has Algoracle, so that's another thing. You see projects like that have all this steam behind them, and then that idea just kind of gets incorporated into the blockchain, and then where are they?
Yeah, so I think, try to be positive. There's a lot of options to make money. I mentioned Sushi Swap right now. Their market cap really quickly is, it's down to 285 million, which is amazing. So again, we'll talk about ways to, if you did get burned by Luna like we did, how to recover. It's not going to happen overnight. Take a
But
deep
I think
breath.
the most important lesson from this is take profits.
Oh yeah.
Take profits. You got
Hmm.
profits, take profits. Nobody ever went broke taking profits. And I think that's
Nope.
the most important lesson we can learn from this is when you're up, take some of that off the table and save it, because
Yeah.
anything is possible.
Yeah, guys. So we might come back with a weekend episode. Stay tuned. Stay positive out there. Even in the bear, I think there'll be instances where there might be some flips. Today was not the day, but there's still, even though BTC is not going to fully recover back to an all-time high, there is going to be some fluctuation. So we might bring back the flips. We might do some drafts. You have to wait and see, but we are going nowhere, and we will be here all
We're
through the bear
definitely going to
market.
review some good projects too, and don't do anything crazy out there. Somebody broke into Do Kwon's apartment today, so
You're kidding. Well, I didn't know.
don't do anything crazy out there, you guys. Stay safe and keep your head up. You're
All
still
right,
early
guys.
in this space.
For Mr. FOMO, this is AZcrypto. Have a good evening.
See ya.